Hey, what's going on? Good afternoon, guys. I am Clayton back on behalf of Operation Rock. We have had a great, restful, and I would say knowledgeable hiatus, which is basically a little break from social media. I'm in school now, so I don't have a lot of time, people. Like I'm halfway through my semester, I got midterms. Also, I wanted to take some time to just take a step back, kind of examine my own life, reflect on some of the unfortunate circumstances that have made me an advocate for domestic violence with regard to my horribly untruthful ex-girlfriend, Francina Evans. I've tried to give this situation enough time to kind of distance itself from my life, maybe so I can just move on, maybe be happy, and maybe just go on about things, people, because that was my ultimate aim from the beginning. But people, unfortunately, I can't do that, people. Like I have said in the past, when you have an offender who is truly obsessed with revenge against you, nothing you will do will stop that person. So, people, it turns out that my offender is still after me, still willing to perjure herself, still willing to lie through her teeth, still using and abusing the racism and bigotry within the domestic violence process that is imposed on black men, and unfortunately, it's more imposed on black men who have former criminal records, to violate my civil rights, people, and to continue to harass me and stalk me. A couple of months ago, when I said some stuff like this, people, you would see me here. I'd probably be profane. I'd probably be mad, calling her all types of lying, scheming pieces of shit. Because people, that's just the truth. That's the way I feel about this woman. Like I have so much proof that this woman has been stalking me, but I can't seem to get justice because my skin complexion happens to be too dark for the unfortunately racist and biased officials in domestic violence law enforcement to acknowledge me as the male victim. Unfortunately, black men, we are always looked at as offenders. We can't possibly be victims. We can't be victimized, black men. We can only be offenders. The only time the cops can have valid interactions with us is if we're offenders. They don't respect us if we're victims, if we're trying to tell our story, if we're going to the police with valid, incredible, and verifiable evidence, people, unless someone is trying to kill you, the racism and bias and domestic violence will not work for you as a minority male. It probably does happen to a lot of white men also, because I have spoken to some white men, excuse me, who have told me these things have happened to them. They're credible. I checked out their information, but people, the reason I keep mentioning it as far as with blacks is because predominantly it happens to minorities and especially African American men. Through my research into legal case law with regard to what's been going on with me, I have come to a firm conclusion that domestic violence, at least in the form in the current, I would say, state of existence it is only in place as a tool to control broke minorities. The easiest way for these people to mess your life up, people, is if you have a domestic violence complaint against you. It does not matter if you're guilty. The one thing about domestic violence is domestic violence does not require, um, it doesn't require them to prove that you are guilty before they take action. So if someone who they deem credible, and credible doesn't necessarily have to mean that this person is truthful. It could be the police's visual perception of this person for whatever motivations this could be, them being a woman, them being white, whatever it be, where they decide to work against you to take a complaint to have you locked up. And people, I've gone through this in the last 3 years of my life. I would say 4 or 5 times. I was falsely arrested by my ex Francina Evans. One time by the mother of my child. Because the truth is, people, is that domestic violence is not about justice. Domestic violence has become a tool of bitter and broken women to use to harass, I guess, the men who have hurt them. Is that right? Absolutely not. Um, is it something that action should be taken on? I would say so. I would say that anyone who could actually sit back and lie to a group of people and tell a story that is validated to not be true should be held criminally and legally accountable for that story. The problem with law enforcement is that if you're in a position where law enforcement chooses not to help you as the victim and the survivor, there's no way you'll be able to get any type of substantial, I would say, legal criminal justice against this person for violating your rights. So the only thing left after that is civil suits. Now, people, unfortunately for me, I have, man, people, my life has just become such a nightmare, people. And it's unfortunate because it's not something that I intentionally did, to myself, people. I just happen to date the wrong person who happens to come from a family of people who are pathological liars and completely crazy. It seems like these people just have a penchant with them to lie to law enforcement. This is just the Evans family overall. Um, I would like a day to come where I could probably speak about domestic violence and myself not be a victim. I don't think that day is going to come anytime soon. I have an offender who is obsessed with me, who will never leave me alone. People, it's so bad, it's forced me to actually sue the states of New York and New Jersey, something I have not wanted to do. The only action that you truly have, and this is the truth, the only action you have as a victim of domestic violence when law enforcement refuses to help you is that you have to file federal lawsuits. It's the only thing you can do. So let me back up a little bit. I want to show you guys something. So people, again, I'm going to law enforcement about my ex. My ex won't leave me alone, people. I can't, nothing I do seems to be able to get this woman to leave me alone. So people, what I just did was sue her in federal court. Now, what I want to show my audience today is proof of that because people, I'm just tired. So what I have done is I've sued my ex, Francina Evans, and the state of New Jersey. Uh, excuse me. There we go. I think we're there. Yes, we are. Hello. Okay, people, that's the wrong tab, but this is the right tab. Okay, so what you're looking at here, audience, is this is the federal lawsuit in New Jersey filed against Francina Evans. I won't show you the whole lawsuit, people, but this is how far I had to go to get this woman to leave me alone. Is I had to name her in the federal civil rights lawsuit as a defendant because people, until I can bring this before a judge who won't look at race or color, who will look at the actual, I would say, legal merits of this situation, I, as a black man, will never get justice. These local jokel prosecutors, these small town prosecutors in New Jersey, they are racist, they are bigots. These law enforcement officials in the domestic violence programs in New York and New Jersey, not all of them, but many of them are women who themselves have been through domestic violence situations with men or have people who they love have been violated in domestic violence. So they're naturally biased when any male comes in because they have I would say, a pre-existing history of previous domestic violence that may be personal or someone that they were once connected to. So the problem is if you're a man and you come into a situation like this where someone happens to lie and say, yo, listen, this guy's been beating me up or harassing me, you are basically judged guilty until you can prove that you are innocent. They do not care about you telling them, yo, this person is lying on me. They don't give a damn about that. They don't care about recordings, people. The only way this works for you as a victim of domestic violence, if you are a man, a minority, hell, not even a minority. I'm going to go farther and respect my white brothers out there. If you are a man being violated civilly by the police because they refuse to respect your right as an offender, the only thing you can do is serve the person who's harassing you and the state agency with a 1983 lawsuit. And people, this is what I had to do. So as you can see here, I'm not going to show the whole lawsuit, but this is the lawsuit against my ex. And people, I had no choice in this. I've done everything I can. As you can see, this is her name, Francina Evans, Howard versus the state of New Jersey. This is the presiding judge. This is it. People, I need this to stop. And the only way it's going to stop for me, anyway, the only way it's going to stop for me, I would say, as the victim and someone who has never, ever been respected with the right to being a victim is, people, guess what? I have to take a stand. So I took this stand. I filed this lawsuit, people, making allegations that, truthfully, for the last 3 years, people, my ex-girlfriend has abused law enforcement in the state of New Jersey to pursue me and abuse me with vexatious and slanderous and frivolous litigation. I have supported that with petitions that she has filed, with transcripts from courts, from decisions rendered before she went to other places. People, I need this to stop. And I've learned, thank God for a mother who is about education. People, the most powerful thing you can do when you have a true problem that requires thought is read a damn book. Because the one thing that the people who are more knowledgeable, intelligence, at least to me anyway, has nothing to do with a person's ability. It has nothing to do with a lack of knowledge. Intelligence has to do with how you break apart knowledge and how you're able to present yourself and articulate yourself. You're not supposed to know everything. You're not stupid because a lawyer happens to know a field of law that you don't know. That's not something you studied. So of course you don't know it. That doesn't make you an idiot because you go in court and let's say you don't happen to know anything about banking. It makes you uninformed. So one can't sap in this. You can't actually call yourself stupid because you don't know the law. Now, once you realize you don't know the law because someone's calling you stupid, a wise man would begin to educate themselves. But truthfully speaking, anyone who doesn't know the law is not an idiot. You're just not knowledgeable. So, with knowledge comes power, and with knowledge comes the ability to do the things necessary with what may be best for you in your situation. My situation, I was in a situation again where I had an ex-girlfriend who was abusing litigation because she happened to be a minority woman of mulatto complexion with a black male ex-boyfriend who had a criminal record. So what she did was exploit this to the racism that is naturally inside the law enforcement process to her advantage. Um, and because of that, people, my civil rights were violated. Because of that, because I am the male victim with this order, my order was never respected. Because of the fact that this woman abused and let's say manipulated law enforcement with my past, things I haven't done for 15 or 20 years. This was enough to motivate the racist and the biased individuals in law enforcement to ignore the rights that were granted to me by the Superior Court of New Jersey. Um, I didn't ask for any of this, people. I truthfully asked to be left alone for months. But people, I've come to realize something today is that I'm not going to be left alone, people. And kicking and screaming and crying and cursing her out about it and calling her all types of stinking crazy bitches with her mother and her crazy grandmother and her family who keeps following me and stalking me and trying to destroy me. That's not what's going to fix this situation, people. What I believe is going to fix this situation is federal litigation, people. That's the only thing that's going to have to fix this. It's going to be federal litigations against the state of New Jersey and the state of New York, the two agencies that violated my civil rights. Because once a federal judge reviews all of the circumstances of this case, and he says, "Wait a minute, this guy is claiming he was harassed and litigation abused, and this woman is saying that she's a victim. Yet every complaint that was filed was something that she filed in retaliation to him being awarded decisions against her. How is he harassing her?" See, people, federal judges are held by a different criteria than these local racist bullshit idiot. They're not idiots, excuse me, let me take that back. Racist, bigots, and unjust local judges and prosecutors are about. This is why many times these local judges and prosecutors are not on federal levels, because the truth is, ethically, they don't have the I want to say they don't have the integrity to be federal prosecutors or a federal judge. So yeah, they stay in these rinky-dink courts where they're able to violate minorities and keep Jim Crow and racism going. But when we go to the federal courts, excuse me, that's a whole different story. So people, not to take too much more time on my situation, people, to update you, I am back. I am still advocating about domestic violence. As you see from the document in front of you, I have had to sue Francina Evans, my ex-girlfriend, for harassing me. I've also sued the borough of Carteret, the officers from the borough of Carteret. I've sued the Newark police people. This is a lawsuit with 12 defendants. And literally there is discovery to back every allegation in this lawsuit. Now, my hope with this is I know that my ex is broke, so I'm not going to get any money. What I'm hoping for is restrictions on litigation so this woman leaves me alone and stops filing BS litigation against me. That's what I need to happen. Because the only way it's going to happen for me is if a judge orders that she be held liable for all of the false police reports she filed. And people, that's my intention. You know, I've become a lot wiser. I've definitely become very knowledgeable in the law. I have something to work on with my patience because I'm still a little gung-ho. You know, I'm an alpha type of guy. So at the end of the day, I'm not used to sitting back and just allowing certain things to happen, but I'm working on it. But the main thing that I have now as an advantage is that I understand the law and I know the law. I'm not an expert, but I know the law now. They have a problem. So, speaking of injustice and speaking of the unfortunate circumstances of the times that we now live in, we're going to move to the next topic, which is Kamala Harris. So people, about a month and a half ago, 2 months ago, I used my platforms and I began posting information about Kamala Harris. And basically, people, that was the truth. Now, my information about Kamala kind of came from my perspective of her. I think I'm an excellent reader of people. I'm a black man who has grown up in the black community. I had a beautiful woman who was a black woman who was my mother, who was by definition what a strong black woman was. I know her mannerisms because originally she was from the South with my grandmother. So there's certain things as a black man with a mother from the South that I knew to be faction. Once I started looking into Kamala, once I started listening to her speak, once I started listening to her gestures, once I started listening to her stories, people, it took about a day or two for me to go, she's full of it. She's lying. I think the biggest thing that got me with Kamala is when she said that she cleans the greens. Hold on, let's see if we can Google that real quick, people, because that was insane. Let's see if we can go to Kamala's greens in the tub comment. In bathtub, there it goes, right there, people. Hold on. She cleans her greens in the bathtub. Let's see, because people, when I heard this, I was completely disgusted. Hold on.
I was like, oh, what's next? Is there going to be a picture of her just like eating collard greens and cornbread? Is she going to be like, this is me eating collard greens and cornbread? I'm in Harlem. And they said back to me, no, she's done that. I said, no. I said, shut up. That's not true. She's not done that. There's no way.
I have a friend who had a Christmas party, Christmas Eve every year, and she asked me to make the greens for a party every year. And I am not lying to you that I would make so many greens that I'd need to wash them in the bathtub. I'm telling you the truth.
So how do you make your greens? Do you put...
Now, people, this might be old because I know Kamala said this a couple of weeks ago, but people, who would feel comfortable eating greens cooked in the bathtub? Like, just because people are from the South, they're not disgusting savages. No clean, respectable black woman would clean her body in the same place that she's cooking collard greens. That was one. But she actually thought she would get over on all of this because she looks so much like a black woman that unfortunately black women think that they have a champion in Kamala Harris. The truth is this: you don't have no champion in this woman, Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris is a liar. Kamala Harris is a prosecutor who worked in San Francisco as a district attorney. I forgot exactly the years. Forgive me, I've had a long day. Basically, while she was a prosecutor in San Francisco or California, wherever she was out there, again, forgive me, I've had a long day. She is responsible for prosecuting hundreds, if not thousands, of black men for marijuana-related offenses. Now, I get it. She was a prosecutor. Her responsibility, considering marijuana is illegal, is to do her job. So we can't actually blame her as a prosecutor that she was trying to build her record by prosecuting her. What we can blame her, from what I'm reading, is that she really took no initiatives to try to combat the problem of the arrest records she was getting from men for simple marijuana offenses by offering programs. What she did was prosecute these men to the full extent of what she could do under the law, which is unfair. I would say, as a black woman, growing up urban, as she claims, growing up with a black family, that looking at some of these men, she might have been able to, catch some type of, what's the word I'm looking for, a connection maybe. Considering she claims to be black, maybe they're my people. Damn, it seems like everybody I'm putting in jail is blacks. Usually our conscience, does tend to lend some advice when you're a good person if you know you're doing something wrong fundamentally. Fundamentally, your inner core, your conscience, that inner voice that makes you will tell you, you know something, what I'm doing might not be right. Maybe I should think about this. And we've all had that as adults. No one can tell me that as a black woman, Kamala didn't have any type of, I would say, remorse for all the lives she made her destroy. Let's think about it. Some of these people who she prosecuted for these marijuana offenses very well at the time had no criminal records. Her prosecution gave them a criminal record. That destroyed opportunities. That may have led people to be deterred from things that they were doing in their life that discouraged them, because it's like, okay, now I got a felony, now I got a marijuana offense, I can't get a job here, there. She ruined people's lives. She stopped people from progressing to things greater than what they could have been because of the charges and the criminal cases that she put on them that destroyed their background by giving them drug-related offenses. And that's not right. As a prosecutor, I think her job is to prosecute you, but her job is to prosecute fairly. Her job is to prosecute in I would say anyway, in a way that, although she's doing her job, she's fair to the people that deserve fairness. And that's the biggest problem in law enforcement. There's not what you would call just prosecutors. These prosecutors and these law enforcement officers are motivated by ambition, and there's nothing wrong with that, because usually as an attorney in a prosecutor's office anywhere, you are fighting for position. Some people may be there prosecuting in the office to gain the experience to become better criminal attorneys. That's true. Some people are there trying to advance, hoping to work through the organization. So maybe they can one day they might become a chief prosecutor or maybe the district attorney themselves. Some people are there to gain the experience because maybe they want to go into politics, get elected a judge, or maybe get elected as a senator, a councilman, whatever it might be. The whole point of why these prosecutors stay in these offices is because of the ambition to move up the ladder in whatever field they choose, and that's respected. But I don't think you should do that at the on the backs of other people, if you understand what I'm saying. I don't think that a prosecutor should make their reputation and their bones on the back of setting up innocent people. That's wrong. No prosecutor should be allowed to lie on an individual on stand, and they should not have absolute immunity to stop them from being held liable when they lie on people. They should not have immunity when it comes to a point where you can determine that the information that they have given you is false, or they have falsely presented a situation to suit their own means to obtain a favorable decision to what they want to advance themselves. That is all unjust and wrong. But we're in a society, it feels, to me anyway, it feels like, that people are allowed to lie. It doesn't seem to matter if the lie is provable. What matters is the person's money or your ability to, I would say, garner the resources, whether it be money or knowledge, to fight the allegation against you. The truth does not rule. It probably has never ruled, but it definitely doesn't rule in the day and times we live. It seems like the whole world is composed of nothing but liars. People lie for a living. People commit crimes, tell on the people they committing crimes with, come out and get careers as fucking social, excuse my language, as social media influencers or speakers. Dude, you were a criminal who got into trouble, who literally told on the person who you were working for as a criminal. In many situations, these people are betraying people that were good to them. These people go to jail. The people who are basically destroying the lives of every person who looked out for them come out and they become speakers, advocates, and get careers about speaking about the people they just betrayed. Since when did times come so bad that we began to honor people like that? When did we get to a point where we started to honor people who lied on innocent people, who violated the rights of groups of people who deserve rights, who have fought for them for decades? I don't know, but it seems that we are now in a time where the rights of minorities really don't matter. It seems that the rights of the LGBT community are far more important than the rights of minorities. And I don't care who disagrees with that. That is the 100% truth. The rights of lesbians and gays are far more important than the rights of black men and even black women. And that's the truth. Minorities, Hispanic men, Hispanic women, any minority. The rights of the gay and lesbian community and transgender community are more pertinent than yours. They have more rights than you. If something happens to them, the police are going to move faster to protect them. But the unfortunate part about that is a lot of the laws that have been put in place to protect the LGBTQ community were actually started because politicians manipulated the public at large to believe that the law was being enacted to help minorities. When the truth is it wasn't being enacted to help minorities. It was being enacted to, let's say, help transgenders. And then they have a law, I believe there's another one too, and this was a big one. I forgot what this one was, but basically what the law does is the law makes any type of unfavorable content with a homosexual individual, and if you happen to excuse me, I'm trying to say this right, vocalize it, I would say outwardly, that could be considered a hate crime. You're not even allowed to offer your opinion about these people, because if you say the wrong thing, it's going to be considered a hate crime against them for offering your opinion. So basically what they've done is they've stripped us of our First Amendment right to freedom of speech to offer our opinion against a subsect of people by making it a hate crime to speak against them. People, where are we going in this society? I don't know. And I don't think things will get any better if the mistake is made in 4 or 5 days to elect Kamala Harris. People, I can't understand how anyone would want to elect a woman at least black women. Black women, I love black women. I love my black sisters. Like I said, I had a beautiful mother who was an amazing and intelligent black woman. And I can tell you something for a fact. My mom would have never cleaned any greens in the bathtub. And I think the only reason, I think that was actually a mistake too, people. I think what really happened with Kamala in this bathtub green statement is she was thinking of a bin or a basin, because that's what old people down south cook greens in. They cook it in a big bin or one of those wood basins. I've seen it. I had a grandmother who lived down south. I had to spend a summer in Estelle, South Carolina. It was hot as hell. Oh my God, I thought I was going to die from heat stroke. Um, I made the stupid mistake when I was a kid to try to walk to the store in the summer with no shoes on. Got like third-degree burns on the bottom of my foot because I started walking like 6 o'clock in the morning and the sun started coming up. So by the time I got to the store and left the store, the sun was up and it was like 90 degrees, 95 degrees. So the asphalt had got so hot, it burnt my feet. But I have family from Estelle, South Carolina. I went down there one summer and I had a grandmother who used to sit there, a great grandmother. She wasn't my grandmother. She used to sit in her house because she had a farm with chickens, goats, rabbits, all this stuff. And she would shuck corn and clean greens all day, because that's what old black people from the South call cleaning corn. When you're taking the leaves off, they call it shucking corn. And when you cleaning greens, it's a term for that too. But I guess you could just say cleaning greens. But I know when you cleaning corn, that is called shucking corn. I know that. So basically, my grandmother would just kind of sit there, my great grandmother, and she would clean greens and shuck corn all day. Clean greens and shuck corn. She would never take them to her bathroom, and she was cleaning a lot of greens. She would have the big wooden, like farmers, like whatever you call it, basins, like a farmer's green, the stuff that people from the farm carry vegetables in. She would have like a bin basin of that, or a big, like a water basin, something she could put water in, and she would have the greens there. Or she would have the greens in the basement. Then she would have her water basin here. She would take the greens, put them in there, let them soak for a little bit, and clean them in the water. But she did it in a bin. She did not do it in her bathtub. So that's what kind of really rubbed me wrong about Kamala. Then as I started to watch more people, I began to see more stuff. Let's kind of keep going with Kamala, because again, people, I will not be voting for her. And I'm not, let me definitely say something for this. I'm not voting for Kamala because I'm a huge Donald Trump admirer or fan, or even a supporter of his policies, because I have to tell you the truth. I do not support many of Donald Trump's policies. But the reason I have decided to vote for Donald Trump over Kamala Harris is this. I am voting for strength. I am voting for the capability that if something goes wrong, that the person in charge might actually be able to respond to it the correct way without having influences from too many outside people. And the job of the president is to make a solo decision with respect to the security of the country. So if I'm watching this election, and to me anyway, with Kamala, it looks like she's literally being told what to do the whole way. Her rallies, her rallies are like, she has a teleprompter in front of her. You can kind of see it. She's been on many different interviews where she's completely tanked on the interviews because she can't articulate, I would say, a thought about any policy that she has. I don't even think she has any policies. I know she's spoken about abortion, but abortion was kind of obvious because of what happened with Roe v. Wade. But I mean, as far as a truthful policy that she's created, other than trying to give minorities more free money, because you got to be honest, minorities, that's what the Dems do to us. What the Dems do to us to try to get us all on board is they give us free shit. They give us free money. They give us tax credits for our kids, because they know that most people on the lower spectrum of the income are going to appreciate that tax cut when taxes come around, because now you get a bigger refund. So basically what they're doing is they're using these little incentives they're doing as far as promising you bigger tax gains, etc., just to get your vote. Now, a lot of times these gains don't even happen, but many times they do happen, at least lately, because I'm still thinking about COVID, which again, Donald Trump may not have signed those COVID checks, but he was the president when it happened. So we have to give whoever was the president at the time credit for it, because I'm pretty sure he didn't veto it. He could have vetoed it, but he didn't veto it. He signed the checks. I know it was Nancy Pelosi's idea, but he still signed the check. So it's not like, at least from what I'm seeing, I don't see that he directly just tried to stop and veto the pandemic checks. He may have argued against the amount. A lot of Republicans did, but for the most part, he supported the pandemic checks. So we can't credit that to Obama or to Nancy Pelosi. We have to credit that to the man in charge, who's responsible for, at the end of the process, of approving the process for the pandemic checks. And from what I've seen, that's the person who signed it. That's Donald Trump. People, we got an election going on in 5 days, people. And I'll be honest with you, I have seen some crazy stuff over the last 3 years. I wouldn't be surprised if the powers that be, the Dems, had managed to manipulate this election in some way that Kamala stole this vote. I wouldn't be surprised, people, because I've seen people, I've watched myself be set up multiple times over the last 3 years, and I've been set up on a small scale. So I can imagine what people with money and bigger brains than the idiots who have tried to set me up can do when they put their mind to it. So we just have to pray, people. We live in a nation where a lot of prayer is going to be required forever. A lot of prayer is going to be required in the United States forever. We got to become better people, so our nation is a better people. We have to be more mindful, more knowledgeable, so we pick better leaders, and we don't make the mistake of picking leaders who manipulate the process like Donald Trump or Kamala Harris. Because the truth is, people, they're both bad. We're dealing with two people who are not good. Trump is not great. He's not. I got to be honest with you. And a lot of you out there, you know, the truth is that Donald Trump is a piece of shit too. But if you have to weigh the degree or the weight, I would say, of who's the bigger scumbag, it's Kamala Harris. It's not Donald Trump. Now, some people are going to say, yeah, he got 34 felonies. It's not really hard to get convicted of a crime if people want to convict you, people. I can tell you that personally. If somebody wants you to be guilty of a crime, it's not really hard to railroad you to be set up, because all it takes is cooperation from the judge. And if you are convicted, now you're on the appeal process. And that's what happens in life, people. People use their connections and use the people that make the decisions to get the results they want, and they make other people fight them. So what happened was, you know, the Dems don't like Trump. He has done and said some very, very unintelligent things. He has made many mistakes in regard to action he's taken, and they decided to attack him to see if they could use a collective amount of all of those mistakes to get him criminally charged and hopefully arrested, hopefully so he wouldn't run for this election. It was a local prosecution. It was the state of New York. They came through. They prosecuted him. I think he had 34 counts or something to that extent. And everybody wants to call him a felon or a criminal. I can't call him that, because I know personally that you can be set up for crimes that you have not done. So yeah, he might have got convicted in that court, but from what I know of the court process, I can't make a determination if he's actually done this, because I know that the court process, especially in New York, is incredibly corrupt, and things can be made to happen with connections and money. And that's just being quite clear. So this was great today, people. It feels great to be back, talk about some great topics. Why I am voting for Kamala Harris, why many of you out there might be not, why I am not voting for Kamala Harris, why many of you out there might not be voting for Kamala Harris, why I am voting for Donald Trump, which many of you out there might agree he's not the best choice. He's not even a good choice, I'll be honest with you, but he's the choice that we have compared to what the other option is. The other option is not adequate, people. Kamala is not capable. She is a puppet. She is being controlled by people. She can't articulate a word in an interview without help, and that's a problem for a leader. It should be quick off her head. She should know what to do. She shouldn't give so many ambiguous answers in reference to the things or the policies or questions she's asked. And that's what I feel about Kamala Harris. So people, we're coming up on the end of this episode. We're going to do these podcasts about 2 times a week now. Next week, I'm going to, actually, what's today? Today is, actually, I think that's Friday. Yeah, I'm supposed to have a guest on these podcasts from when I record. I'm recording an interview Friday, with a gentleman who has been arrested 17 times for false reports filed by the mother of his child. Despite the fact that he has numerous recordings, taped messages, etc., it seems that he cannot get the law enforcement officials in southern New Jersey to do what is right. So he'll be on. I'll have another guest attorney on. We'll all be speaking about the fact of how the victims of domestic violence are looked down upon by law enforcement, how officers tend to look at the male victims who are being harassed by the women as weak, not realizing that these men just don't want to go to jail from the cops. So, they basically just ignore us or they devalue us as victims, which is wrong. And I realize that people, the only way I can truly stop this is not to continue to curse and be irate about it, but to advocate about it, to speak up about it, to get guests, to increase awareness of how false reporting and domestic violence and in life overall can damage your life and hurt you, because that's what it's done to me. And people, it does affect you. It costs you thousands of dollars, people. I've been in court for 3 years with a woman who will not leave me alone, people. And people, I've done nothing to this woman but try to stay the hell away from her. But people, I can't get her to leave me alone, people. Every time I see her in court, the degree of hatred I see, excuse me, let me actually cut the screen share off. The degree of hatred that I see, that every time I see my offender in court is so great, people. It's like we just broke up last month. Like every time I see this woman, the amount of hate, the determination, the, I would say, focus she has in telling the lies she's telling, you would think me and this woman just broke up a couple of weeks ago. And it's been 3 years, people. Um, Observing that in court today, people, I realized something for the first time, I would say ever, is people, this is never going to end. It's never going to end until I find an intelligent way to force her and law enforcement to take accountability for what law enforcement is doing with her. And I'm hoping that the federal lawsuit I filed against the states of New York and New Jersey does that. I'm hoping that it makes strides for male victims and undervalued victims of domestic violence or any type of violence or offense where law enforcement may deem that you are not important enough to protect. Because people, that's my objective. My objective is change. And the only way we can truly change something is by beginning to fight against it, not ignoring it, not staying quiet because you're afraid of what people will think about you or what they'll say about you or what will happen to you. Because if you truly want to effectuate change, you don't really care what happens. I don't give a damn about police trying to come arrest me for me telling the truth about somebody who has been harassing me if I can prove it. And people, if I can prove it, why am I afraid? As the good book says, you shall not be moved. You have no reason to fear anything if you are telling the truth. And people, I'm telling the truth. So I make these broadcasts confidently. I make this today because I know I can make it, because protecting under my First Amendment rights, I have the right to speak with regard to someone who has violated my rights, especially if I have a standing order for harassment against them, especially if I can prove that this person has filed dozens of false reports on me and lied to thousands of people, even falsifying documents to label me with a mental illness that's not mine. So, people, that's just what it is, people. We fight the good fight. We fight against bigotry. We fight against racism. We don't give a damn about Francina Evans. Francina Evans is a useless pawn in this entire situation, being used by unjust, unethical, and racist people to come after an innocent black man. The true tragedy of what Francina Evans has become is she has become the biggest enemy to her own ethnic group of men. She has become a woman who is using law enforcement to lie on a man who broke her heart. And honestly, people, that makes her more disgusting than any of the people who is doing something like this to me. But she has to live with that. Whatever man who chooses to date her, that becomes his problem. If you have a problem with her and she gets mad, all she's going to do is lie on you to the cops like me. And it doesn't matter if you don't want to listen to what I'm saying. People, what matters is this. All that matters in the situation when it comes to things like this, people, is the truth. And this is my truth. My truth has become FrancinaEvans.com, the woman who has filed numerous false documents on me in the state of New York and New Jersey, who has perjured herself, who has stalked, harassed, cyber harassed me, who has perjured court records against me. This has become my story. This has become, unfortunately, my truth. What Francina Evans did to me. How she filed this first fake petition, this first false petition in New York, how she denied filing that petition once I was able to provide proof that I never physically assaulted her, which you literally see all in a row, how the false complaint she filed against me in the state of New Jersey was dismissed, how because it was dismissed, she used those dismissed allegations and brought them into New York first to file charges on me with the NYPD because she had connections, and then her and her grandmother and the racists that are involved in the Staten Island District Attorney's Office put a warrant on me. that she brought back into the borough of Carteret, New Jersey, to use to try to have me arrested by filing the very same allegations from this false complaint here in this complaint. Next, you see how she's been harassing me on social media with regard to lying, telling people I'm a diagnosed schizophrenic using records that she falsified against me, which is right here. People, none of this is a lie. The truth is, I've only asked Miss Evans to leave me alone. That's all I want. God, people, it's kind of messed up, and I'm going to get off, but I'm going to tell you a story. A woman I know, she kind of is going through the same thing as me. Her ex-boyfriend was a junkie. She broke up with him. Suddenly he starts saying he loves her. He don't want to be without her, all of this craziness, whatever. And he starts stalking her. So me and this woman actually happened to be being stalked around the same time. Now, this woman had to move out of state. This guy was stalking her so bad. I believe she moved to like Virginia or something like that just to get away from this crazy bastard because he wouldn't leave her alone. And I mean, like, he's crazy, people. He's going to our house, outside our house. He's spray painting things like whore on the board. Real disrespectful stuff. Well, unfortunately, and I'm going to say unfortunately because we should never be happy with death, this guy dies. He ODs. And I'm going to be honest with you. When I first thought about it, I was like, oh, shit, he died, yo? Like, wow. And I was kind of happy for her. Forgive me for saying it, people, but dude was stalking this girl for 2 years. Unfortunately, he might be dead. But the good part about his death is now his victim has peace because he's not stalking her anymore. I'll be honest with you, people. I was kind of jealous. Like, I want to be left alone, people. I got a living, breathing offender here who's harassing the living shit out of me. People, I'm going to be honest with you. If I got a phone call like she OD'd, I'd be happy as hell. Thank you, people. At least now, it's unfortunate. I'm sorry for her family that, she might have passed away, whatever. But at least I'm going to have peace because she's dead and she won't keep coming after me, people, because I believe totally that's the only way Francina Evans is going to leave me alone, people. She's going to keep filing false charges on me because she knows the cops are racist. She knows the judges are racist. She knows as long as she goes in these courts and she lies hard enough, if she catches the right, and she has to go to the little courts, like the municipal courts. She's not winning in Superior. If I'm in court and I'm allowed to testify, she doesn't win. She wins when I'm not there. And when you get down to these small town courts with these local racist judges who have been in effect who have been in on the bench for 20 or 30 years, people, you're kind of fighting against an established system. Again, that's why I had to go to the federal courts, people, because I need this to stop. And I know that the only way it's going to stop again is once I get Francine in the federal court, which, people, I was really hoping today I went to court and this young woman did the right thing. I swear, I was hoping that she went to court and she just did the right thing and said, you know something, I made some mistakes. I just want this over. If he accepts my apology, we could be the hell out of here. I'm good. People, I would have never even served her with the lawsuit she's about to be served with. I would have never even had her served, people, because the truth is I want this to stop. I don't want to spend the next 2-3 years of my life in court with a woman that I dated less than 6 months, people. But unfortunately, I have to because my ex is so obsessed with me, she won't leave me alone. So I did not serve her because I was hoping when I went to court today, it had worked out and she had left me alone. But off of the energy I saw today, people, I know for a fact that this psycho hoe ain't going to leave me alone. People, I'm going to have a long fight ahead of me, people. This woman's going to be after me for the next 2 years, which is going to make me a 5-year victim of stalking abuse, which I said several months ago, people. Several months ago, I spoke about stalking abuse. As we know, January is National Stalkers Month, where victims of stalking can speak about their experience. And Francina Evans has been stalking me for 3 years. People, I said about a year ago when I was championing National Stalker Month that the average intimate partner stalking situation, lasts about 2.5 years. In rare situations, though, and it's about 10% of situations, the violence, the harassment, the stalking can sometimes go for 5 years or longer. That's when you have a problem because that is what's known as a different type of abuse. That's a prolonged. That's incredibly bad. I can't remember the term right now, but it's a different term once it reaches like 5 years or so. People, I can tell you now, mark my word, that this is not going to be over till probably 2027. From what I saw today, This girl has no intention on going on about her life and leaving me the hell alone. Her mother's still after me. Her grandmother and mother's still after me, coming to court hoping they can lie to the racist ass white men in these courts. I'm a black man with a record. That's all they hoping to do, is they hope to lie to these little racist ass judge and prosecutors. And they hoping, you know what, if I can convince this guy is done, what they're going to do is lock him out all over, and we'll get something against this guy. But people, God is good. And as you see, people, they got the right guy in front of them, people. I'm going to sue him federally. I'm going to sue the borough of Carteret, and I'm just suing the state of New Jersey, people. And I believe in the end of this, God will vindicate me. I totally believe that, people, because again, I'm telling the truth. And that's what will give you the greatest confidence in anything you deal with in your life, people. It's just telling the truth. You don't have to sit there. Don't sit there and create no lies. Nah, because when you create lies, you got to remember them. If you just tell what happened, good or bad, you don't got to remember that. All you got to do is speak from experience of what happened to you. Now, the hardest part about that, people, is going to be holding the emotion back, the anger, maybe the frustration of the things that you're feeling because of what's been legitimately done to you. And I can totally attest to that, because that's my problem, people. When I have to start speaking about the things that this girl has done to me, I get pissed, because it's like, it's so obvious that these racist white men, that they should see what's going on with this girl. And I can see it while I'm talking. They know, they literally, I'm talking, I'm showing paperwork. They can't refute anything I'm saying. But it's the fact that they cannot grant a black man the right as victim, that they do everything in their power to violate my civil rights. So people, my objective is simple. If the wheel won't help me, if the institution will work against me, people, then I'm going to break the fucking wheel. And I'm going to sue the dirt out of the state of New Jersey and New York. And I'm going to bring as many of the allegations and as many of the truthful situations that have happened to me in front of a federal court judge. And we're going to let him roll the dice and make the decision. But see, the state of New Jersey and the state of New York, by the way, they're going to have to substantiate how producers were recording me and police weren't arresting her. They're going to have to substantiate how I was prosecuted for offenses that I had immunity for, simply because they didn't want to drop the charges against a black male offender. They're going to have to explain all of that, people. And I know, because I know I'm right about this. So I'm cool. So people, pray for me. Thank God for the wisdom of non-racial judges. Thank God for the wisdom of judges who do not allow themselves to be deterred by race or by sex, because these are people who truly fight the good fight. These are people who are only concerned with the facts, not your skin color, not your sex. And for all of those pieces of shit out there who choose to manipulate the law to exercise their racism or their bias against the sex, you'll die slow in hell, you piece of shit. Excuse my language, but that's what I feel about you. If you could use the position that someone has granted you to help people who are victims, to violate victims, you're a piece of shit. And when your day comes, when God exposes you for the unethical piece of shit you are, I pray I hear about it so I can laugh all the way to the bank on you. And for everyone who has done that there to me, that's my objective with you. I'm going to sue the living shit out of you and laugh all the way to the bank on you, because there's a certain truth that I know, that you have violated my civil rights. So it doesn't take me getting angry. A lot of the men who have violated me are even physically capable of dealing with me. They're 60, 70-year-old geriatric white men. But you know what they're not? They're not above the law. So we'll use the law against them. So people, on behalf of justice, and we're putting God first at all times, people, as the shirt says, that's what we do. I'm Clayton. On behalf of Operation Rock, on behalf of justice, on behalf of true victims of domestic violence. You don't have to be black. My story happens to have a black male involved in it myself, but you can be a white man. White men are violated too, not as much as black men, but white men are violated too. You can even be a woman, because many times with women, sometimes you guys are victims with this respect to this litigation abuse also, because you might have an ex-boyfriend with some money and a good attorney who knows how to manipulate the system of domestic violence against you to get you arrested. That makes you a victim of litigation abuse also. So people, that's what I speak against. I speak against litigation abuse. I speak against slander. I speak against defamation, people. I speak against injustice, people. And I definitely speak against the racism that is intricately woven into the criminal justice system, and specifically the domestic violence process. It needs major reform, people. Hopefully, together, people, we can all get that done. On behalf of Operation Rock, people, on behalf of the mission, people, on behalf of what's really important to us out here who advocate for the victims of domestic violence, people, the only thing that's important in domestic violence is the truth. It's not about who's right and who's wrong, people. It's about the truth. Because many times in a situation, both people are wrong. But when you look at the truth of the situation, it's only going to reveal that one person is right. And that's what advocates need to focus on. So people, we're going to go now, pray for the situation. People, again, I'm not even hateful like that. Like I said, I'll be back. My next show will be on Friday. You can even pray for you pray for your enemies, people. I've learned that from a very wise mother. You pray for your enemies because the truth is that your enemies are weak because of the weakness that you have given them, people. This girl is weak for me. She's obsessed with me. She's never going to leave me alone. And all that does is validate for me one simple truth, that I had to treat this girl very damn well if this girl has been obsessed with me for 3 years and willing to lie, perjure herself, and totally destroy her own life to get revenge on me. Because people, I'm not going after her. I'm trying to be left alone. She's filing charges on me. She's taking new things to new places to come after the man that broke her heart, the man that she has saved with a broken heart under his name in her phone. People, we all get our hearts broken. I've had my heart broken before. People, I found my mother dead on the floor. It broke my fucking heart finding my mother, who I love, dead on the floor with her arms like this. People, nothing hurt that bad. And guess what it did to me, people? After it broke me, it built me up. It made me a stronger person. It made me realize that there is no woman that I will ever love more than my mother. So why would I ever lower myself to be upset about a woman and me breaking up when the only woman that ever mattered to me I just found dead on the floor a couple of months? No, people. See, the only woman that I'm gonna fall on the floor and cry forever is my mother and my daughter. And my mother got mountains of tears out of me, people. She still gets tears out of me. God, I pray God bless me to the extent that I never have to cry like that for my daughter. But people, a woman has already broken my heart and gotten the tears of a broken-hearted Clayton from her. I can't give that to Francina Evans. I can't give her something that she's never earned. My mother earned my tears. Francina Evans has never earned my tears, therefore she cannot get them. So on behalf of Justice, people, and Operation Rock, we'll be back Friday with a couple of guests and an exciting show. I might do one tomorrow because I'm off, but I doubt it. But in any event, we'll definitely be back Friday, people. Stay tuned. Love is love. Respect your elders. Respect everything, people, because at the end of the day, that's what this is really all about. It's about respect. You respect someone, they'll respect you. You don't respect people, at the end of the day, they won't respect you, and you'll be a person who gets no respect, and you'll be a miserable, unhappy piece of crap. So people, stay strong, stay focused, keep God in front of you, keep love in front of you, and don't let the BS win. I'll see you next time. Stay tuned.